in a couple hours, we'll get to know if 6ix9ine gets bail or not. My guy Kenneth McLean brought it to my attention. There's no point of getting bail if he can. You want to explain that?
Right. So the way, because as a lot of people know, Tekashi just got put on felony probation. It was probably like 2 weeks ago, maybe 2-3 weeks ago.
A couple weeks ago and it was about for 4 years because I was there in the courtroom.
Right. Yeah. So 4 years felony probation. So obviously this recent arrest is going to be a violation of that probation. And what a lot of people don't know, since he's on felony probation, when you're on felony probation, when you get arrested, or if your probation gets revoked and you get arrested, 9 times out of 10, almost every time, if it's felony probation, you don't get a bond. So, if you're on felony probation and your probation officer files a motion to revoke, when the judge signs it, they'll sign it a no bond warrant. So, if it's a misdemeanor, they'll sign, probation violation, like, say they had a DWI or a possession of marijuana or something. They'll sign a probation revocation warrant, $10,000, and set the bond at that. So that when you go to jail, or, if when you've got that revocation warrant out, you already know, like, what your bond is a lot of the time for a misdemeanor. But for a felony, it's a no, it's a no bond. There are exceptions, though. Deferred probation, like I was telling you, I don't know exactly how New York works. I'm going off of what I know from Texas. If you have deferred probation, and deferred, what that basically means is if you complete your probation successfully, at the end of your probation, it doesn't show up as a conviction on your record. It shows that you were arrested, but that you were never convicted. So it's better to have deferred because it doesn't fuck up your record for the rest of your life. But for regular straight felony probation, just regular probation that a lot of people get, that's going to be on your record for life most of the time. So Tekashi, his probation isn't deferred. And that's the other thing, though. So deferred probation, since you can get a bond and it's off your record at the end, deferred probation is usually a little harder. Usually, the slightest mistake, like a failed drug test or whatever, you'll get violated a lot quicker. But a lot of times with deferred probation, your first violation, they'll just put you on regular probation. So they'll continue your probation, but it'll just, stay on your record from then on. But anyways, back to the point. Since he's on regular felony probation, say he goes to court tomorrow and he gets approved for bond. It depends, when his probation officer, because they're definitely going to violate him, because they don't wait until you're convicted before they violate you. Just the fact that you've been arrested and being charged with something is a violation in itself. So, say he goes to court tomorrow and gets a bond for $1 million or whatever, he could bail out, but then in a week, 2 weeks, however long it takes the probation office to revoke him and the judge to sign it, he could be back in jail in, 1 week or 3 weeks or however long it takes. And then once he's in jail for that revocation, there's no guarantees that he can bond out. So it might, it depends. If he's really looking at as much time and he's looking at 32 years minimum, it might be worth it to spend that money just to get, a couple weeks of freedom. But, there's really no telling it. It could turn out to be a waste of money.
Right. Can you break down what exactly, for the people, what exactly is bond and how does it work? What is bond?
Right. So, when you get arrested or your probation gets revoked and you get a bond, the judge will set it as, say they set it at $10,000. Your bond is $10,000, but if you go through a bail bond agent, most of the time you only have to pay 10% of that. So let's look at it this way. Say you go to jail and the judge gives you a $25,000 bond. You get on the phones, you call around, find a bail bond agent, and you can bail out for $2,500. So you pay 10% of your bond. So if it's $25,000, you pay the bail bonds company $2,500, and they come and get you out. And then when you go to court and you show up at court, the bail bonds company, they're done with you at that point. But the reason they chase after you is if you jump bond is because when you pay that $2,500 to them, they're responsible for taking $25,000 out of their own pocket and paying your bond in full to get you out of jail. But then when you show up at court, they get their 25 grand back plus get to keep your 2,500. That's how they make their money. That's why, you know, if somebody jumps out and skips their court date, they send bounty hunters after you to get you, because until you go to court, they don't get their money back. So that's you know, why they go after you. But yeah, a lot of people, I mean, a lot of people know that, a lot of people don't. But yeah, you only have to pay 10% of your bond most of the time to bond out. So it might depend though. But the good thing, you know, with someone like Tekashi or someone who has a lot of money, say your bond is 10 grand and you have 10 grand yourself and you don't need a bail bond company, you can pay the 10 grand yourself in full. And then when you go to court, you get all your money back. So, you know, once you go to court, whether you get convicted or not, you get all your money back. It's basically just a assurance that you're going to show up to court. One more thing I wanted to say about Tekashi's his chances of bail. So like I was saying, I feel like for regular straight felony probation, like 99% of the time, most of the time, it's always a no bond, but there are occasional exceptions. I know someone who was on regular felony probation. It wasn't for, you know, like a serious crime. Like, you know, I mean, it was still serious, but not like a murder or something. But he was in there. It was his third DWI, which in Texas, that's considered a felony. And he was put on 10 years probation. He failed a drug test for alcohol. He got violated, and he was able to get a bond. But it's because his violation was something really small. You know, it wasn't anything major. And his attorney somehow worked it. But most of the time, once you go to jail for probation revocation, you're not being able to bond out. And, you know, and the reason being is because a lot of times when you're on felony probation, when you get revoked, you're getting sent to prison. And they hold you in there because they want to make sure that you don't go run. You know what I mean? Because if your probation's getting revoked, sometimes, you know, it's a little quicker than, you know, the normal process of waiting for trial. You're not waiting in there for a year to see a judge when you're revoked. You usually see the judge within a couple weeks, you know, sometimes a month before you see the judge. And then the judge will either continue your probation. He'll add some amendments to it. He might say, you know, now we're going to continue your probation, but now you have to attend anger management. Now you have to attend AA or rehab or whatever. You know, depending what your violation is. They'll continue it and add a few more rules onto it. Or they'll say, you know, we're ending your probation and sentencing you to serve your prison term. So they want to make sure that, you know, a lot of people out there who know that they're about to go to prison for the next 10 years, 20 years, however long it is, if they know they're going to go to prison, they're a lot less likely to show up to their court date. So they'd rather just keep you in there, you know, and make sure that you don't go anywhere.
Suck my fucking dick, stupid.
But anyways, but to make it short and sweet, basically, if he doesn't get approved for bond, he may just be just a waste, right? Like, it's for nothing, because he has the 4-year probation thing, and another thing where he squeezed the cop's hand. So they basically gave him a break and said, "Hey, just stay out of trouble for a year, and you'll be fine." That was just literally 2 weeks ago, a week or 2 weeks ago.
The thing is, you know, I didn't hear that exact part whenever they told him that. I mean, I believe you that that's what they told him, but I'll say this: when if you get put on 4 years of felony probation, you got to stay out of trouble for the whole 4 years. You know, if he's on felony probation for 4 years and it's been 2 years and he gets arrested, they'll still revoke his probation, depending what it's for. Excuse me, depending what it's for. You know, sometimes, like, you might have a cool probation officer, and if you fail a drug test, they won't revoke you. But the probation officer will say, all right, okay, I'm not going to revoke you this time, but you need to start going to AA 3 times a week, and if you fail another one, I'm going to revoke you. But up until the time your probation's completed, you know, they can arrest you. Really, they can revoke you for any violation that they want to. It's kind of up to their discretion.
Right. I just wanted you to take a look at real quick because these are the charges. and these are the max penalties, and these are the defendants. You can see that he's charged with every of these counts. You see violent crime, aid of racketeering, carrying a firearm. No. He's not charged with that one. But majority of them, and there's 8 of them in total, but he's only charged with, I believe, 6. And you can see there's a bunch of years. There's 20 years. There's life in prison. So, he could do double life if convicted for all 6.
Right, I think the other guys got charged with like the fentanyl and MDMA and all that shit. I don't think he got those, did he?
Check the link I just sent you. You see his name on it, Daniel Hernandez.
Oh yeah, I found it. I'm pulling it up right now.
Yeah, just go down and you'll see.
That's what I was gonna say though. When you asked like, would it be a waste of money or would it be worth it? It's kind of like it's hard to tell because he could always, if they grant him a bond tomorrow, which based on these charges, it's pretty serious. Like celebrity, whether he's got the money or fame or not, when it's the feds and you got these kind of charges stacked, it's not really looking good that he's going to get a bond. But if he does, it might be worth it, depending on how much it is. It might be worth it to bond out because he could always worry about the probation stuff when it comes to it. You know what I mean? Like, say they revoke him in 3 weeks, maybe somehow his attorney will be able to somehow work a deal and get him a bond on that too. But the only reason, like I said, the only reason it looks bad is because the charges are so serious. Like, he's got the racketeering. I think, isn't he charged with conspiracy to commit murder?
This racketeering, conspiracy, using and carrying a firearm relation to possessing a firearm in furtherance of a crime or violence, which is discharged, violent crime in aid of racketeering, it just
2 counts of violent crime in the aid of racketeering.
Right. I don't see murder as far as for him. It doesn't specifically say, but in the indictment it says murder. The indictment is very vague. I don't know if you read it.
Right. Yeah. Here's the 5th charge right here: using and carrying a firearm during and in relation to, or possessing a firearm in furtherance of a crime of violence in which the weapon was brandished. And then he's also got one more: violent crime in aid of racketeering. So he's got 3 of those violent crime in aid of racketeering charges. 2 of them only carry a 3-year sentence, and one of them carries a 20-year sentence. So maybe one of them was, I don't know. Maybe because there's 3, it bumps it up to 20. I don't know.
Am I correct in saying that he's gonna get time no matter what because of the other court situation he has?
The only way he would get no time at all is if he got found not guilty of everything. But if you get convicted on some of these, they're not going to give him probation. He's already, especially since he's already on felony probation, he's already been convicted of a felony now. And then if he gets one of these, like the feds, like, look at some of these other guys, like that one guy, the reality TV guy that just got in trouble for the tax evasion stuff, and he got, I think, like a year in jail. So, if you're getting a year in jail from the feds for, some tax stuff, it's going to be hard to get no time at all for, things that are considered violent crimes, because they take that more, obviously they take that more serious.
Right. I just want to point out for people that just don't know is that he's being charged
he's going to do some time.
Right. He will. He's going to sit down. The thing is that no matter if he was there. Go ahead. I'm sorry.
I was going to say, unless he's found not guilty, but with the feds, once they arrest you, that means they usually have a pretty good case built against you. Otherwise, they wouldn't arrest you.
Oh, even if he wasn't there for these specific, crimes,
mm-hmm.
and just because he knew he had a knowledge of it, and he rolls with these guys,
right.
He's guilty by association. That's the thing that fucks it up. He's guilty by association. It's point blank. Like, he might get the less time out of all of them.
Right, because it'll be hard at this point for him to... Because the thing is this, like, even if maybe he wasn't participating in it, some of the stuff, the fact that he knew it was going on, and was still, because they're calling it like the Enterprise, or it's basically, since it's like a gang and he's considered part of that gang, they might look at it like, he had to have known that this stuff was going on, and he was still with them. I know he like fired them last week or whatever, but like everyone says, that was just a way to try to, he knew this was coming probably, and was trying to like get away from it. But the thing is, we know that he knew some of this stuff was on, and he was there for some of these incidents from the photos. You know what I mean? Like, they've got the surveillance photos when that shooting took place, and you can see him in, wearing the same hoodie that they caught him on camera in sometime that same day. So we know he was there for that incident. And then there was one more. Oh, when they raided his house, they found the backpack and the gun that was taken during a different armed robbery.
Right.
Which even like, because that's like, for example, like say, and it depends. It's so weird. Like, there's so many different ways stuff can go legally, but like, even if you don't steal something, you can still get charged. Like, if it, like a state crime in Texas, for example, if somebody steals like a TV and keeps it at your house, you can get arrested for being in possession of stolen property, even though you didn't steal it. You know what I'm saying? And like, he had the backpack, he had the guns in his home, and so that right there could tie him into it. You know what I mean? He can't, because they're gonna say, "What, you didn't know this was in your own home?" But and that's what he'll probably try to play down. Everyone does. Like, "Oh, I didn't know it was stolen. They told me they got it from a friend, or they told me they bought it." He can try to play all those tricks, and his attorney will probably say all that stuff. But the feds, once they have got these cases built up, they're usually pretty, open and shut. They've got their cases built before they come and get you. And I think I don't know if it was the indictment or that article I was reading, but it said they've been following not Tekashi, but the gang for like 5 years, and then Tekashi's been associated with them for like around a year now. So 5 years of investigation, they've got some evidence stacked up.
Right. But as far as the gun thing, wouldn't they have to tie it to him as far as like fingerprints? Like, because they raided his home, and that's how they got it.
Right. So, say for example, you went out and me and you went and you robbed somebody, and then we came back to the house and you put the gun in my closet. If the cops come and they find it, I could probably still get charged with it, even though I never touched it, because I knew that it was taken in a robbery, and I'm letting you keep it in my house. You know what I'm saying? Like, the fact that it was found in his home is probably just as damning as having his fingerprints on it. You know what I'm saying?
Okay, wow, right.
Maybe not. And that's the thing. Depending what he tries to do, like, is he going to try to fight it? Is he going to try to like, keep to the code and not snitch on anybody? Because if he does that, he's going to get fucked. But if he snitches, he'll probably be equally fucked. But he could probably, if he agrees to work with them, which is a good thing to do if you're looking at in terms of like being selfish on his part, but it's obviously a bad thing to do because it's gonna endanger him, and it's just not good to do. But anyways, he could probably get some of this shit knocked down if he works with them. If he's willing to like cooperate and help them, he might be able to work a deal where they'll dismiss a handful of charges and get him on one or two of them. You know what I mean?
Right. I think personally, my opinion, I think he should. But I know the hood is not gonna be happy with that. But he'll always have a career, and as far as he could always come out and sell a record.
Right. That's the thing. Like,
audience, the public, like the younger people, and his fans will accept that. But as far as the hood, he won't be able to go back.
Right. And that's the thing. Like, he's gonna learn real quick, like, that all the shit that he's been doing and saying and the way he's been acting, like, if you're really going to do those things and live the life that you're trying to talk about, just like everyone has been dealing with for like the past however many decades, there's real consequences that come with that. So once you're in jail in federal custody, and you're facing 32 to life in prison, you realize how serious it is. And it's like, we're going to see how he handles it. Because like you said, I mean, he can always cooperate with them and get out. And the teenagers and, the people in the suburbs, they're not going to give a shit if he snitched or not. But his whole image would have to change. He wouldn't be able to act the same way he did before, because nobody would take him serious anymore after. Because, if he cooperates, that should, we'll be able to tell. We'll know if he does. He can't keep that secret. Oh, here it is. Basically, it's saying that, in the state of New York, when you've been violated, your probation's been violated, felony probation has been violated, since you've already been convicted of a crime, you have no legal right to bail. You know what I mean? Because when you're put on felony probation, what that means is that the court has already sentenced you to prison for your crime, but they've probated that sentence for probation. You get what I'm saying? So, like, for example, if you commit a crime, the judge can say, I'm sentencing you to 10 years in prison, probated for 5 years probation, which means if you have 5 years probation, but if you mess up during that probation, you've got a 10-year sentence waiting on you to go serve. So that's a lot of the times why with felony probation, they don't give you bail. It's because they look at it like you're already convicted of a previous crime. You get what I'm saying?
Right.
So it's kind of up in the air. I don't even want to say it's 50-50 because it's not. His chances of getting bail for that, I think it's slim. But you never know with if you've got enough money and a good enough attorney, they might be able to work something out. But and the thing is, like, it's kind of like a catch-22 when you're a celebrity, because in that case you've got the money and the resources to be able to skip out on your court date and go on the run because you got the money, the resources, and everything. But at the same time, I almost feel like it makes you less of a flight risk because everyone knows your face. And you know what I'm saying?
Yeah,
like, you can't go anywhere and hide because people would know who he is.
Right, he's pretty hard to not spot when you have tattoos and rainbow hair.
Right, so it makes it hard. So like even with Suge Knight, whenever he was trying to get bail and they were saying he was a flight risk and that's why they set his bail so high. Like, yeah, he might have had the money and the resources to skip bail and go on the run. But at the same time, everyone knows who Suge Knight is. So I almost feel like it makes you less of a flight risk.
But somebody may be that dumb and just do it. You never know.
Right. I mean, that's the thing, he's looking at serious time. It's not like, even if it was 10 years, that if it was like a state charge and he got 10 years, he could do 5 and be out, or less maybe. But like, this is federal, and some of these charges are carrying like 20-year minimums. And with the feds, they don't do parole like state does. And depending what state you're in, if you get a 10-year sentence, you can be out in like 2.5 years. You can serve 25% and be out. But for feds, I can't remember the exact number, but I think it's like somewhere around like 3 weeks per year of good time you get. So like, if you get 5 years, you do like almost day for day. You do get out a little early, but not much. So if you got like a 5-year sentence, you're going to do like 4 years and 7 months or something. You're going to do most of your time. So
right.
That's the thing. Like, he's in a tight spot, and I don't know. I don't know what the good thing to do. He's kind of in a lose-lose situation. He can either snitch and ruin his reputation and have to watch his back and go that route, or he can not snitch, and then he's going to go down even harder as far as prison goes.
If I had to guess, I think he's going to cooperate. He's got a daughter, that's only like, I don't know, 3 years old or so. Right.
I mean, if he's looking at it like career-wise, cooperating would be the best move, because then he could possibly get out and still have a life ahead of him and a career and move on with his life. But it's just not going to be the same. Like, this might be this probably will be the case that makes him step back and change his whole persona and be like, you know what, maybe I'm not that guy that I thought I was, and I'm just going to be a whatever rapper from now on.
He might just turn into a podcaster. Who knows?
Like Jaden Smith or some shit. Talked about the likelihood of getting bail. Like, that's the thing. I really don't know. It's hard to tell. Like, I want to say it's 50-50 that he could get bail for his probation revocation, but it's not. It's like 95. It's like 90-10. You know what I mean? I feel like he has like a 10% chance of getting bail. It's just hard to tell because he's famous and he's got a lot of money. and he can hire probably the best attorneys he can find. So you never know what they can work out. But the only reason I think that, that makes it more likely to get bail, but then you got to look that he's already on probation for it's like a sex charge, isn't it?
I don't know the exact. I don't want to say the exact charge. I don't know the exact charge.
Yeah, so I don't know the exact charge on that, but the charges he has now from the feds, he's got like 6 of them or something, and they're all pretty serious. So even if he gets a good attorney, they might be like, look, this guy is facing 32 years to life, and letting him out is a liability. It's a risk we don't want to take.
Right.
We don't want him to go out there and either not show up to court or go out there and somebody kills him because he's been talking shit about this gang, and you know what I'm saying? It's almost like a safety risk. Like keeping him in jail would be safer for him.
He's actually in general population, I believe, no?
Yeah, the thing I read said he's in general population at least until his hearing for a bond. I don't know if they're going to keep him there. I don't know. That's the thing though with jail. I don't know. Feds obviously are different, but a lot of times in jail, like if you're scared for your safety, you can request to be put in protective custody. And if you request it, and you're a high profile figure like him, they usually would do it.
Well,
so
how come?
I don't think he probably hasn't requested to be put in PC.
He should. They'll kill him, man. They'll gut him. Like his life is in danger every second that he's in general population.
Well, unless he thinks that this is something he's gonna beat and it's not that big of a deal and he's got this covered and he thinks he's gonna get out tomorrow and then he'll beat his case. That way he doesn't have to look like a bitch like he went into PC. That he can get out and say he was in general population. You know what I mean? But if they tell him no bond tomorrow, then he's gonna be sitting in jail for a year waiting for court.
Yeah.
And he'll probably want to go to protective custody.
Right.
And doesn't he have an album coming out in a month or something?
No, he has it on the 23rd, which is Friday.
Damn, that sucks.
Yeah, at least he'll get some money from that, I'm guessing.
Tupac was the first rapper, I think, to have his album #1 in the country while he's in jail. Tekashi might be
the second one.
Yeah.
he might be Tupac status.
I know.
Sadly.
Especially with this shit going on, it'll probably help his sales, really.
It definitely will.
But yeah, I don't know. It's what what time his court takes in New York? It's already his court's usually early. It's usually at 9 a.m.
I'm not certain if he's gonna show up. I think it's his lawyers that just may show up. I'm not too certain.
Yeah, it depends. Sometimes, since it's a hearing, well, I don't know. I went to a bail hearing and I was there. They transferred me to the court. So it just depends.
All right, man. We'll definitely find out. But again, if he does get bail, he might just get locked up just a couple of weeks later.
Right. It depends how much it is. If he really has a ton of money and it's no big deal to him, and say they set his bail at $1 million and he gets out, that's the thing, the 10% thing. That might not apply when it's $1 million. They might want 50%, when it's something that high, because they might not have $1 million at a bail bond.
Right, but his lawyer offered on Monday the judge to put up everything he had in his bank account, $1.7 million, give up his passport, and the judge still denied him bail.
Damn, yeah. So that's not looking good for him today. But maybe he'll have a different judge or something. Maybe it's a more lenient judge. I don't know, because a lot of times when you first get in there and you see a judge, they have different arraignment judges. They'll have 2 or 3 that kind of rotate because they just rotate or whatever. And sometimes you have a lenient judge, sometimes you have a hard judge. My bail when I got arrested, my bail was set at $200,000, and most people that had the same charge as me, their bail is $10,000. And just because we were teenagers and they were trying to teach us a lesson so that we would learn our lesson and stay out of trouble, they set it at $200,000. And there's people who have had murder charges that are that much. It was fucking ridiculous. But then I had to go to court 2 months later, and I got my bail reduced to $10,000. They dropped it from 200 to 10, and then I paid 1,000 and got out. But that's the thing. I guess the whole long story short is it depends what they set his bail at, if it's worth getting out before getting his probation revoked. Because if it's only, he has to pay $100,000 and he can get out, then it's worth it, even if it's only for like a month, because at least he has a month of freedom. You know what I mean? But it wouldn't be worth it to pay like $2 million and then go right back to jail like a month later.
Right.
All I know is he's probably shitting his pants, because this is like the moment that's going to decide if he's free or if he's sitting in jail. Like, it just would suck. You got your album coming out, like the biggest album you've ever made, like with actual like, big names on it and shit. And you got an album coming out in 2 days, and you can either be free and celebrate, or you could be in jail for however long. But it's just funny, like his attorney was outside of court the day that you were there, and she was talking about how he's like, he's distanced himself from the gang. He's a good, like a God-fearing Christian, and he's got this great relationship with God and all this shit. But then they've been like following him on these shootings and robberies and shit.
Right after that court date, they got into a shootout. I think it was a shotty.
Yeah. I think that's when his bodyguard or one of the security guys got shot.
Yeah.
And I think you were the one that told me that the main guy, what is his name's Treway Shoddy?
Yeah.
Or something. That weren't they saying he's the one that was trying to put a hit out on Tekashi?
That's what I'm hearing. That's the craziest shit I ever heard. This is something that comes out, it sounds like a movie or something.
But think about this, like, before he met Tekashi, like, he probably had a little bit of money from selling drugs or whatever the fuck he did, but he probably didn't have any real money. You know what I'm saying? He probably didn't have like a savings account with any real money, maybe a few grand in there, but he wasn't, the way he is now. So you link up with Tekashi, he's shouting Treway in every video he makes. He blows up off of that name and makes all this money. And at the same time, that Treway Shotty's probably getting paid really good too. And then one day out of nowhere, he just like fires you and cuts you off. And he's probably thinking like, fuck, my life is about to go back to the way it was before, where I don't have shit. And he was probably pissed. You know what I mean? He's out here talking shit about Treway, and then he fires him. It's about to cut off his money, his income.
I mean, I don't want to say that. Has that even been confirmed? That's the thing. Has anybody even confirmed that? Any legit source, like the feds themselves, any authorities have confirmed that? I'm thinking that might be just an internet rumor. I just don't want to.
About what, the hit, or about
the hit?
From what I saw, and like I said, it was just an article I read, but it said that in some of the paperwork, that it said that like the day before or 2 days. This is what it said happened. Like, I'll make it real short. They said like the day, like 1 or 2 days before they arrested him, they brought him in to question him about it, and they told him that people in the gang had violated him and they were planning on shooting him, and that they offered him protection, and he turned it down. And then when he left, they knew he was going to go to a casino in Connecticut, and they got like a source told them that the gang was going to shoot him while he was at this casino in Connecticut. So that's when they were like, it's time to call this. We need to end this thing and go get him and bring him in. Because they were afraid that if he went to Connecticut without law enforcement security, that there could end up being a shootout, and an innocent bystander could end up getting shot in the process and killed or injured. So to protect the public, they just went out and like called it and said, let's go get these guys and end the investigation, like bring them in now, and instead of continuing to just follow them. So they basically, just to protect the public from a possible shooting at this casino, they just went and rounded them all up and arrested them.
You know what's another thing I wanted to point out, and then we'll wrap this up.
Yeah.
It's funny how all this happens when the guy that robbed him, they picked up the guy that robbed him for his chain a couple months ago, and people thought it was like a whole publicity stunt.
Right.
So I'm thinking he probably snitching or cooperating.
Yeah, he probably did, because maybe was the guy that they arrested for robbing him. Was that guy connected to the people that Treway?
Yeah, he's supposed to be a 9 Trey blood member.
The guy that robbed him was a 9 Trey blood member.
Yeah, and he was a former friend of Tekashi, and he cut him off.
Damn. So maybe he ratted him out, but he's not the same guy that got robbed by Treway Shoddy back in April or whatever, is it?
No. That's another. I think no, definitely not.
Yeah, so that guy probably cooperated and started telling him a bunch of shit.
He was probably involved in some of the robberies.
Do what?
He was probably involved in some of the robberies himself, allegedly.
Right. He might have told him, like, look, I'll tell you about these robberies. and like told them, and they went back and checked the security footage and saw Tekashi and Treway shot it. You know what I'm saying? Like they might have got, like you said, a bunch of info from that dude, and then they went and checked up on it through cameras and eyewitnesses or whatever and confirmed it.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. Isn't that a little weird? Like, like you pick up this guy, then a week or two later, then everybody gets picked up.
Yeah, and then like all around the same time, they picked up that guy, and then Tekashi fires Treway, Shotty, and those other people, and starts distancing himself. Like maybe he knew, you know what I'm saying? Like he probably just didn't look good, because like you said, that Fat Joe video too, like it's almost like they kind of knew it was coming. Like maybe they knew that dude was gonna rat on him when he finally got arrested. I don't know. Man,
I mean, these guys are gonna rat, especially when they start hitting you with football numbers.
That's what I'm saying. Like, you know, they can talk all this shit. Like, you know, people on social, like people that watch the video, if they hear you say, you know, he should cooperate, they're gonna say, oh, don't ever cooperate. You're a snitch. You're a pussy. This, that, and the other. I don't, you know, very few people. I don't care how tough and how, you know, how hard they think they are, when they're facing like 50 years, 30 years, life in prison, 9 out of 10 people cooperate. You know what I'm saying? Like very few people have like the strength, no matter what they're facing, to not snitch and go down. You know what I'm saying? Most people are not that strong. They get in there and they start getting scared, and they start thinking, I'm never going to see my family again. I'm never going to walk the streets again. And they start getting scared, and they start doing whatever the fuck they can. And they justify it in their head. Well, I only snitched because of this. I only snitched because of that.
Right.
But at the end of the day, like, I can't blame, like, I've never been in that position. I don't know what I would do. Like, I can say all day that I wouldn't rap, but if they're telling me that I'm going to go to prison for 40 years and I've got kids and a wife, you know, it's hard to say that I wouldn't help.
Right.
Or do something to knock my sentence down.
Right. It's crazy, man. The biggest reality, this could be like the biggest reality TV show, and we're seeing it, you know, crumble. We're seeing it live and to a stop almost. It's slowly, you know, ending. You can tell.
Yeah, and the crazy thing is, like, everyone knew this was coming. You know, it was either this or Tekashi getting shot. You know what I'm saying? Like, it's just, he's gotten reckless, like, just the people he's been running with. He's been, like, blatantly bragging about this shit on social media. Like, the people around him should have said, like, dude, you're like bringing unwanted attention to us. Like, you need to knock that shit out. And I know, like, he has to do it for his career or whatever, but, like, you know, we had to know. You know, they're saying they're the new Death Row and all this shit. Like, look what happened with them. It's the same shit. You know what I mean?
Sure.
Except Death Row actually was smart enough that they never actually got brought down by the feds. The feds investigated them, but never got shit on them.
Right.
You know,
but look at Suge.
But yeah.
They were calling Treway. Treway was calling himself the skinny Suge. The disinflated Suge. The Suge that doesn't know good.
We knew this shit was going to happen at some point, though. I didn't think it was going to be this serious, because, you know, I thought maybe the people around him, like the actual people in the gang, like maybe they were doing shit, but I didn't think he was involved in anything. You know, I thought maybe him and that Treway Shotty, they kind of, like, you know, considered themselves part of the gang, but they kind of separated and did their own thing. You know what I mean? Traveling and staying in nice hotels, and they weren't really out there with the other people doing any of the real shit. But apparently they were, but I don't know. I mean, it's going to go one of two ways. Either his life is going to be fucking over, or he's going to pull off a miracle and somehow walk away from this.